Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hope things are okay. Looks like it's going to rain today, which is, I guess that's okay. The flowers need it. Somebody needs it. So, welcome to our exec session this morning. I will call on Representative Emmerich to go through the Division 1 bills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill we have is Senate Bill 227. It came to us by and large complete, except that we did amend it to add corrections officers, which is starting on line 16. So we didn't have an amendment to the bill. Other than that, it's largely unchanged. I'd ask Representative Griffin to speak to any other changes.
Yes, the amendment has parole officers and certain other Class 2 employees. We heard testimony from the public and the professionals that suicide was quite often rare. It wasn't a normal thing. It may be less than a half a dozen a year in the worst case scenario. And we also felt that adding a few employees as parole officers and things would not likely have a major impact on the bill. So all in all, Division 1 supported the bill with the amendment.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the amendment to 2022-1330? Thank you. A second? Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. Two nay, and one abstention. Then, call on Tracy for an ought to pass as amended on SB 227.
Representative Griffin, you want to make that motion?
I move that we accept Senate Bill 227 as amended.
Thank you.
Who is that? Thank you.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Thaberge,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Earth,
Abstain.
Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards,
Abstain.
abstain. Representative Bean, Representative Lynn,
No.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Norgren's not here. Representative Bucco. Representative Schultz.
Yes.
Representative Hatch. Representative Walsh.
Yes.
Representative Heath.
Yes.
Representative Murray.
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Representative Turcott was not called.
Oh.
Representative Turcott votes
Um,
no.
Did I miss that? Representative Turcott.
No.
Representative Nordgren?
Oh, you are here. Okay, I'm
am.
sorry. Representative Norgren.
Yes.
Boy, we're gonna have to get a new clerk. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, 2 abstentions for amendment 2022 1330H. The motion passes. On SB 227.
Will there be a minority report? Representative Bean or Turcott?
Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah, about 9:30.
see.
About 9:30. No, you.
About 9:30.
No, it'll be fine. Just let us know after the.
Okay, thank you.
There is a minority report.
Well, it's not sure. He hasn't made up his mind.
Okay.
All right, we now turn to SB 371. Representative Emmerich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I defer to Representative Griffin.
Yes.
Can we understand why these people abstain? Because usually you only abstain if you have a conflict of interest, and it's not clear to me why there were 2 abstentions.
Representative Erf has a conflict of interest.
My wife's an EMT.
Representative Edwards?
I don't care to share the reasons.
Okay, Representative Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill makes a $3 million appropriation to the lead paint hazard fund administered by the Housing Authority. The fund is used to provide interest-free loans to owners of rental units for lead paint remuneration in order to protect young children living in those rental units. The program has been a great success with over 860 rented units completed to date. However, those loans are payable when title to the building changes. So the fund is at this point depleted, and this appropriation would add to the fund so they could continue the outstanding work they're doing.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I'd ask for a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept Senate Bill 371.
Do I have a second? Second by Representative Heath. Ready? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Weiler.
Yes.
Representative Taburaj.
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich.
Yes.
Representative Earth.
Yes.
Representative Griffin.
Yes.
Representative Edwards.
Yeah. Yes.
Representative Bean. Representative Lynn.
No.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Turcott.
Yes.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Norgren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch, Representative Waltz,
Yes.
Representative Heath, Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 19-1 in the affirmative for SB 371.
The vote being 19-1, SB 371 passes. Will there be a minority report?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, thank you. It's got money. I would love to put it on consent. I'd love to put all these on consent, but I don't, I'm afraid Paul wouldn't allow it. So, okay. Moving on to SB 445 FN relative to broadband matching grant initiative. Representative Emmerich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have an amendment to this bill. Actually, the bill came to us with this amendment accompanying it, having not been passed by the Senate. There was a request that we initiate this amendment. The only change from what came to us from the Senate is on line 11 is the word in the amendment is the word successfully challenges. That's the only thing that changed from the Senate version. Beyond that, I'd look to Representative Griffin to fill in the blank spots on the basic bill.
Representative Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 445 makes an appropriation of $122,100,000 in federal funds authorized by the American Relief Plan Rescue Act of 2021. The funds to be transferred from the U.S. Treasury to the Broadband Matching Grant Fund established under RSA 12-0:63. The bill also sets up guidelines for a matching grant program and amends RSA 12-0:63 by increasing the eligible grant from 50% to 75% of the total eligible project costs. That's really what the bill does, is raises the eligible costs from 50% to 75%. The Finance Committee voted to pass the bill.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, we will need a motion on the amendment, which is 2022-1537H. Representative Griffin,
So moved, Madam.
thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it since it was mine.
Okay, Representative Emmerich. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. Opposed? The amendment passes. Now I need a motion on SB 445 as amended.
Madam Chair, I move Senate Bill 445 with the amendment as ought to pass.
Ought to pass as amended. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Representative Heath, thank you. Will the clerk call the roll,
Madam
please?
Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to, could I speak to
Oh,
this, please?
yes, you have a question or a comment? Certainly.
Yes, thank you very much. I do not support this bill, and I'm going to explain why. During our hearing, it was told to us that there are only approximately 21,000 individuals in the entire state that do not have access to this, to broadband. It was also brought up, somebody mentioned the fact that wireless, satellite, and all those technologies are coming up. Now, when you look at $122 million for 21,000 potential customers, not all of those would take that. You're looking at a cost of over $6,000 per potential household. To me, that's just an extraordinarily poor way of spending this money, whether it's considered free from the federal government or not. So I will be voting against. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Emmerich, would you like to respond to that, please? Oh, Representative Hatch, I'm sorry.
We asked that question, and it got into the debate of the last mile and how expensive the last mile really is. Several things came up. One is the definition of under construction. In this industry, actually negotiating for poles to hang the lines on is considered under construction. That's where this challenge, successful challenge, came from. The other issue had to do with who takes care of them once they're installed, because the bill didn't specify that. And in fact, once a line goes live with a carrier, say it's Comcast becomes the provider on that line, they're responsible for maintenance from that point on. But as far as the cost, it's very expensive. The last mile is very expensive.
Thank you for that explanation. Oh, Madam Chair. Thank you for the explanation. Yeah, I'm aware of those. That really doesn't address my initial point, which is I'm not asking a question. I'm making the point that this is an extremely expensive and I think unwise way to spend $122 million. Thank you.
Representative Hatch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Emmerich made most of my points, but 27,000 individuals sounds de minimis compared to the overall population of the state. But consider this, please. Almost 1/3 of the state encompasses 13,000 people. Just keep that in mind. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You wouldn't be referring to Coos County, would you? Oh. It's also, I didn't get the landmass size of Coos. It's big. Representative Bears.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Being from Coos, it is the largest county. Not only that, but the most rural county in all of the state. So the last mile is expensive because the towns and homes are extremely, spread out. So that's why I think the bill is necessary to do at least, wire the people, so that we can get things done properly. We have 23 unincorporated places. Most of them aren't occupied, but at least, this bill would help connect people in remote areas. So I'm in favor of the bill.
Is there any further discussion? Sorry, Representative Edwards.
Following up kind of on Representative Turcotte's comment, it seems to me that 100% of the people whose houses are going to be affected by this bought their house knowing what the internet connectivity was. And because we have federal money, we're going to go ahead and spend it in a profligate way. And maybe we should do that. But this is a little bit like somebody buying a house next to an airport and then having federal money to move to move the airport. It's pretty much equivalent to that. So I'm conflicted about voting for this, because I think property owners know what they're buying when they buy it.
Representative Hatch.
Thank you. I do not desire to belabor this, but let me just point out this. that where I live, a preponderance of the people bought their houses long before internet existed. Just a point. Thank you.
Is there any? Schultz? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a sub and the newbie, so I appreciate your allowing me to speak. I'll be brief. I mean, the point of the ARA funds from the federal government was because, correct me if I'm wrong, during COVID, people needed access to the internet where they were for their kids, or if they're teachers to teach those kids, or if they are workers that were sent away from their office. Regardless of your views of COVID, that is what happened. And this had been an item that many of us, regardless of if we're from COAS or not, felt that our entire state to move forward in this economy needs to have that level of access so we can have a better shot at various businesses to attract businesses, small business, big businesses. But really, this came out of the immense need for children, kids, and workers to have access to their workplace and their schools. I do believe.
Thank you very much. Further comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Burridge,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Earth,
Yes.
Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards,
Yes.
Representative Bean, Representative Lynn,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Turcott,
No.
Representative, Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Norgren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, SB 445 as amended passes 19 to 1.
Thank you. The vote on SB 445 as amended is 19 to 1.
Call me.
402.
402.
We now turn to Division 2 bills, SB 402. And I would like to turn it over to, well, actually, we should probably have a, sorry. Could I have an open, yeah. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion. I move SB 402 amendment.
There's no amendment.
There's no amendment?
No.
We amended.
Oh, yes, there is. Sorry.
1578.
Yep.
Right. I move amendment 1578, 2022, 1578.
Okay, thank you.
And let me see.
I can't get my papers straight. Yeah, it's here.
See, this is the. This is the loan, right? Okay, you,
Go ahead. Okay. The amendment to SB 402 is made some changes dealing with the amount of money that the disaster. Yeah, on the non-federal share. This is after the this is not the loan. This is after the emergency management has figured out what is eligible and what is not eligible. And this allows the communities to apply for state aid in the amount not to exceed 50% of the non-federal share. So FEMA traditionally had been a 25-75 match. And with this amendment, we are providing the opportunity for communities to apply to the state for half of whatever the FEMA local match is. So in the past, the state used to provide all of the non-federal match, but that went away several years ago. And what we are doing here, actually in reaction to what happened in Chester and Sullivan County, that we're asking for the state to consider approving half of the non-federal match. I think that covers it.
it does.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make the motion to pass Amendment 2022-1578H.
Okay. Do I have a second? Thank
Second.
you.
Representative Erf.
No, Representative Lynn.
Oh, was Lynn?
Yeah.
Boy, you're pretty loud back there.
Yes, I see. Representative Erf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I just ask for a clarification? My understanding was the FEMA part is split 75-25, but that this did not apply to any of that. This applied to anything in excess of that.
No. This just applies to the match. FEMA puts in some amount. Okay. And this only applies to the non-FEMA money, what the communities would have to pay. And we also, if you notice in there that the Homeland, our Homeland Security area will be managing this grant program.
Could I ask one more question?
Surely.
So just to be sure I understand, to the extent that the cost of the disaster exceeds the state plus the federal share of the FEMA portion. To the extent that it exceeds that FEMA calculation, the local community will be picking up that excess?
That's correct.
Thank you.
This is only for FEMA approved repairs or whatever. Representative Turcott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for those who weren't in Division Two during the discussion on this bill and the next one we will be talking about, for me, and much of the discussion on this particular bill came down to the difference between whether it was a grant or a loan. And as we get into the next bill, you will see that one talks about loans. And some of the discussion on this, because it is a grant rather than a loan, there were concerns about the political implications. You know, in certain times, is one person going to is one party going to allow a municipality to receive money, or are they not? The other big thing was mitigation. We talked about nationally some of the same places that receive disaster relief over and over and over again without mitigating the underlying condition. And by going to a grant rather than loan, we may put ourselves in the situation of there's not quite as, mitigation doesn't become quite as important if you're just receiving a grant from the state. So on this particular bill, I will vote against it, knowing that we do have another bill that we've worked on coming up that talks about disaster relief in the form of loans. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any further comments? Representative Lynn?
Yeah, I want to say I initially I shared the concerns that Representative Turcott raised, but I really think that the way this grant proposal has been drafted, it really is fairly limited. I mean, if I understand it correctly, basically you're saying the most that the grant could be would be 12.5% of what the total FEMA award was. And I think, and it's not, this is not an entitlement to a grant. It just says you can apply for it, and the governor and council and the fiscal committee have to approve. So I think with those all those limitations, I'm comfortable with the way this is worded.
Okay. Sorry for my confusion. We were kind of interchanging 402 and 409 the whole in our whole discussion. And we knew that one was a grant and one was a loan, and that's kind of where we got a lot confused on what we were doing. But I do believe that Homeland Security knows that we are very much concerned about hazard mitigation. And we also know that in order to qualify, I guess is the right term, for FEMA money, you have to have a hazard mitigation plan. And you have to be, from Homeland Security, you will have to be making progress on that mitigation. So it's whatever. Okay. Are there any further questions on the amendment? Representative Mooney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, just to make an observation, it seems as though reading this amendment, it is a vast improvement from the original bill in terms of clarity. So I will be voting in favor of the amendment.
Thank you. I think Division 2 would agree with that. Are there any further questions or comments on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of amendment 2022-1578, please raise your hand.
I have a question. Was there a second to the motion?
Yes.
It was?
Representative Lynn.
Okay,
Unanimous.
unanimous. All right. Could I have a motion, please, on SB 402 ought to pass as amended?
So moved.
Thank you. Representative Petrie, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
That was one.
Yes, Representative Lynn. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Burridge,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Erf,
Yes.
Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards,
Yes.
Representative Bean, Representative Lynn,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Turcott,
No.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Ogren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote on 2022 1578H and the full bill SB 402 passes 19-1.
Thank you. We'll now turn to SB 409. And I will I will call on Representative Heath.
Did you say me?
No.
Heath. Oh, Heath, I'm sorry.
Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think, wait
I'm-
just a moment. I think I need a
An
motion.
amendment.
Yeah, a motion on amendment 2022 1546.
And I would like to move that amendment to pass.
No, the amendment.
Seconded.
The ma-
Second.
Okay. The amendment, we're just voting on the amendment.
Yes.
What's the amendment again? I'm sorry.
And I'd like to speak to my amendment.
1546.
Dear.
And Heath,
And Turcott.
good.
Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Amendment 1546H, really, I think we worked very hard on it, and it, in response to a lot of questions and concerns. 409 immediately talks to a disaster. So what our amendment does, it defines who's eligible, and the municipality would relief projects shall equal or exceed 25% of an amount raised by local property taxes. The amendment goes on to say the municipality shall not knowingly request a disaster relief loan for costs not eligible for reimbursement under the FEMA public assistance. The amendment continues to say recipients of an exceptional disaster relief loan shall be responsible to repay the entire loan amount to the state. If the amount of the FEMA assistance is less, then this amendment allows the municipality to work with the state and governing council to negotiate the terms of the difference and to negotiate a payment plan. The amendment also goes on to talk about the municipality shall consider applying for available hazard mitigation grant funding administered by the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management that will reduce the impact of future disasters on facilities that were repaired with the exceptional disaster relief loan funds. Municipalities must demonstrate progress toward implementation of their hazard mitigation plan in order to be eligible for future assistance loans under this section for disasters affecting facilities where an exceptional disaster relief loan was previously granted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there further comments? Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor of Amendment 2022 1546, please raise your hand. Opposed? Thank you. Could I please have a motion, ought to pass on SB 409?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Turcott, second by Representative Heath. Yeah. Oh, did we get through the A? OTPA? Yeah. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is on Senate Bill 409 as amended. Ought to pass. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Burridge,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Earth,
Yes.
Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards,
Yes.
Representative Bean, Representative Lynn,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Turcott,
Yes.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Norgren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
and Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote on SB 409 as amended is 20-0 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Does anyone have any problem with putting 402 and 409 on the consent calendar? Since there's no direct money associated with it, I think we can do that. Pardon? Well, since there's no appropriation tied to this to these two bills, I think we can go on the consent calendar. Okay. Okay, with no objection, we will put those on consent. Okay, we now turn to SB 412. And there is an amendment. Representative Edwards.
Madam Chair, I move amendment 1582 to SB 412, and I'm prepared to speak to the amendment.
Okay, I need a second. Second by
Second.
Irf. Representative Irf. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment attempts to clean up some miscues that happened during the budgeting process. There was absolutely no doubt that the both houses, the Senate and the House, wanted to increase nursing home reimbursement rates by 5%, effective July 1 of 2021. Apparently, raising reimbursement rates is a dark art that's very complicated. And so what we thought we had done, we actually failed to achieve. There wasn't enough money available to cover the 5%. So since these things get adjusted quarterly, there was a first quarter adjustment and a second quarter adjustment, and both of those were significantly below the 5%. What this bill does is it works to make good on the legislature's promise of a 5% increase to the nursing homes, and it appropriates $5 million to cover the cost of that nursing home reimbursement rate. If we don't need all $5 million between now and the end of June, that money will lapse. But apparently, because this is so complicated to calculate reimbursement rates, it's possible that we may be underestimating again. And so it leaves open an escape hatch for the commissioner to write us to let us know whether or not there's going to be enough money to cover our promises. So I don't understand why it's so hard, but that's why I'm just a legislator and not an accountant. So I would ask for your support on this bill. First, the amendment.
I need to take a quick recess and ask Representative Wallner, Edwards, and Weiler to come in my office, please. Where's Kevin?
Joe, you give me the votes. This one, and that one.
What,
What we voted on these.
oh, 227. 227 is 15, 3, and 2 abstentions.
How about 371?
371 is 19 to 1.
19 for 371,
Right.
and then 445.
445 is,
That's another one with abstentions. I think.
no. That's 19 to 1. 19 to 1.
Okay,
That's it?
so it's 15, 3, and 2, 19, 1, 19. Okay, thank you.
Sure. There you go.
So I'm trying to do this whip sheet here. And at first I thought I knew what I was doing over here, and I didn't. By the time I got to here, I had an idea what I was doing. There was 19 yeses, 1 no, 11 votes yes. Maybe I still don't. Can I, you did this before, right? The
Yeah.
whip sheet.
Yeah.
Can I hook up with you in between here to see if we can sort that out?
Sure. But you got the who said what, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, we didn't have a whip sheet like that. We just,
Yeah, Y and N. And then I get these two here are abstentions. So when we get in between here, if I can talk
Sure,
to you for a
sure,
few minutes.
sure.
Okay. I just needed a further explanation of this amendment, which seemed to me to be confusing. So, if I understand correctly from our little conversation, that the $5 million will only be appropriated if HHS runs out of money and they send a letter to the governor, the Senate president, and the Speaker of the House. And then from there, the governor would draw a warrant up to whatever the dollar value was needed. Is that
I think that's an accurate summary.
okay? All right. I think this is the first time for me to see us asking the governor like this, but as long as this works, we'll be okay. So don't ask me any questions, but there are people here who can answer questions. So are there any questions on this amendment? Yes.
I'm just trying to understand, have we been paying the reimbursement at the higher rate even though this got messed up in the budget?
Representative Edwards?
The with the quarter that began January 1, we got to the 5%. In the first quarter, when this was supposed to become effective, I think we only were able to, through the calculations, generate a rate increase of 0.2%. And then in the entering the second quarter, the calculation came up to 3.8%. So we're good now, but we had 2 low quarters. And so we want to go back and retroactively fix the hole we left.
Understood. The only thing I would ask is quarters and just specify the year. Like you're talking about 2021?
The first quarter started July 2021 of the new budget years.
So you're talking the second half of 2021 that we were low, and the reimbursement rates?
It depends on how important the fiscal year is to you. It's the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Amendment 2022-1582, please raise your hand. Opposed? Thank you. Now, could I have a motion to pass as amended on SB 412?
I'd like to move OTPA for 412 as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Representative Erf. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is SB 412 ought to pass as amended with Amendment 1582H. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Burrish,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Lynn,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Turcott,
Yes.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Norgren.
Yes.
Sneaky, aren't I? Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
and Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote on SB 412 as amended is 20-0 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Okay. We'll now move to SB 422, and we have Amendment 1331H.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move Amendment 1331 and at the appropriate time speak to the amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Erf. Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At first glance, this appears to be a substantial amendment. Let me, instead of diving into the details, I'll save the details for any questions that you may have, but I just want to back up and take a look at where we are in the overall process. The state of New Hampshire has debated whether or not we should have an adult dental Medicaid benefit for a number of years. In this current term, there was a close working relationship between the policy committee and the finance committee of DHHS. We made some modifications to HB 103. It passed the House very successfully, and it reached the Senate. At the same time, because this was so important, the Senate sent to us Senate Bill 422. 422 was slightly different in that its benefit levels were a little bit higher. But they had identified a nice source of funding for it from the Centene settlement. And they also identified that we owed some money to something called a risk corridor, and it's a couple $1 million and change. So what we've done at the request of Senate Bradley and the Senate's hearing of 103 is we simultaneously amended HB 103, and this represents the amendment to SB 422, so that both bills are identical. And I believe Senator Bradley thought this would be a good idea to make these two bills identical, just to make sure that one of them gets passed, because we're really wanting to get a dental Medicaid benefit passed. And the other reason is, if the bills are identical, that cuts down on the whole committee of conference issue and just lets us get this to the governor a little bit more quickly. So if there are specific questions about the amendment, I'm happy to entertain them. But the bottom line is, this now reads identical to the version that's with the Senate in HB 103. It passed their policy committee, and I think it's going to hit their finance committee this week or maybe next. But everything looks very favorable for that. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Amendment 1331, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Opposed? 2.
2 opposed?
Yep.
Who were the opposed?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion of ought to pass as amended.
Mr. Chair, I move that we do an OTPA on SB 422 using Amendment 1331.
Second.
And Representative Earth seconds. Further questions? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? Clerk will call the roll on ought to pass as amended on Senate Bill 422.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Taverish,
Yes.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Earth,
Yes.
Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards,
Yes.
Representative Bean, Representative Lynn,
No.
Representative Mooney,
No.
Representative Turcott,
No.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Norgren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the vote is 16-3 in affirmative.
16-3, it will go on the regular calendar.
Mr. Chairman, There will be a minority report,
I'll
Representative.
write a
Lund.
minority report.
All right, who will write it?
Uh,
Representative Lynn. And what will the minority report be for?
Inexpedient to legislate.
ITL, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, the committee report in favor has already been turned in.
Good
What-
work, thank you.
What was the vote on this?
17-2.
16 to 3.
I'm sorry. I can't read my own writing.
Neither can I.
The amendment was 17-2.
Okay.
Just so you know. I hadn't finished yet.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Weiler, for that.
I will do that. I move to reconsider our actions on Senate Bill 227. Senate Bill 227, wish to have a reconsideration. There is some things we were in error on.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Representative Wallner.
All in favor?
All in favor of reconsideration? Thank you very much. According to the clerk, we cannot have abstentions in committee unless you have filed a conflict of interest statement with the clerk.
But I only had to do that for him when we met on the floor. He didn't
Oh.
make that clear that I had to be in committee as
Okay,
well.
so I would ask that on this bill, if those that abstained want to vote, fine. If they don't want to vote, then they should leave the room. Okay,
Then we revote.
yep. Will the clerk please call the roll on
227.
SB 227 OTPA?
Okay, and this is on 1330. With okay. Representative Weiler,
Yes.
Representative Taburich,
Yes.
very soft-spoken.
There you go.
Representative Petrie votes yes. Representative Emmerich,
Yes.
Representative Earth is not here, not voting. Well, Representative Griffin,
Yes.
Representative Edwards is not here. Okay, Representative Bean. Representative Lynn,
No.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Turcott,
No.
Representative Wallner,
Yes.
Representative Ogren,
Yes.
Representative Bucco,
Yes.
Representative Schultz,
Yes.
Representative Hatch,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 15-3 with 2 not voting.
Okay, thank you. will there be a minority report on SB 2227?
Madam Chair, there will not be.
Okay, thank you. And you had thought maybe you were going to have a minority report on,
He's reported as 422.
422 will have a minority report. Representative Lynn will be writing that.
okay, thank you. Sorry, I was out of the room. Okay, I have all of the majority reports in for Janet. And so I will need the minority report for SB 422 this afternoon. Okay? So that
No
we,
problem, I'll get it to you.
okay. So that we can get those in prior to the next onslaught of bills that we have. So I am no good at time management. I'm gonna have to take another course in time management. But the problem is you schedule it for an hour and it goes for 3, and you schedule it for some other amount and it does something different. So we will be back at 11 o'clock to hear a non-germane amendment 2022 1730. So I will see you then. Have a cup of coffee. Adjourn.
Coming back at 11.
Who,
Exec that I have to add it to here. I got another exec anything more today.
No, because this is amending.
We have committee, committee, division meetings after this.
Yeah. And 401 was on the thing, so we'll do the hearing. Send it to the committee.
Do you have a committee report form that I could use to
Turn this in.
to write the minority report on 422?
committee report, is that this?
Oh, yeah, I think that's, yeah, that's good. No, that's good, that's great, it's gonna be very good.
Good. Gotta get the brain engaged. A couple days late.
I also got to figure out who's going to speak.
To Burge, it's his amendment.
No, I'm talking about on the floor.
Oh,
Next week.
Who made the motion on 227 for the amendment? And Walsh?
didn't put down the second. Yeah, go ahead.
Walsh did it, unless you have it.
What?
The second to the amendment.
No, I didn't.
Hey, Dennis. Feel free to ask questions, Dennis. Feel free to ask.
Another thing, you can pick up the blurb
I'd like to call this hearing on non-germane amendment 2022-1703 to order. And I will call on Representative Taberge to introduce the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just as a little bit of a background, I worked with Commissioner Sheehan from DOT, her staff, and the attorneys to come up with the amendment that's before you. A little bit of also a background regarding the county. You know, the COAS is the largest county. It's the most rural. We're the only county with 2 nursing homes, and we're the only county with no interstate highways. So the bill before you regarding the Balsam project is the hopes that we can get something going positively for in terms of the economy. That being said, Madam Chairman, if I could read the non-germane amendment so that everybody will be on board. Okay, the amendment is on Senate Bill 401, which is a financial note. It's an act making appropriations to the Department of Transportation for local to the body worn and dashboard cameras funds, permitting the Department of Transportation to operate dash cameras in fleet vehicles and relative to the Dixville-Colebrook Road project. Amend the bill by inserting after Section 4 the following and renumbering the original Section 5 to read as 6. 5. Department of Transportation, Dixville-Colebrook Road Project. The Department of Transportation is authorized to proceed with the road project named Dixville-Colebrook Project number 40518, subject to the following contingencies. Roman numeral 1. The Department of Transportation shall not commence construction on project number 40518 until such times that all approvals necessary for the road project are received and financing is secured. Roman numeral number 2. Financing must be sufficient for the redevelopment of the resort facility and property formerly known as the Balsams Grand Resort Hotel and for the commencements of commercial operations at the former resort facility. Roman numeral number 3. Prior to the construction project of number 4 and county shall execute agreement with the department agreeing to take ownership of the road with responsibility for continuing and maintenance and repairs. Roman numeral number 4. Construction costs shall not exceed $4.1 million. The governor is authorized to draw a warrant for the necessary sum out of money in the treasury not otherwise appropriated for the construction costs and other project expenses. The appropriation shall be non-lapsing. Project costs shall not be charged to the highway fund. Thank you. I will entertain questions, but I don't know if I have the answers to all the questions that may be asked. I do have people behind me in the event that I cannot answer any of the questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Representative Turcott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative, for taking the question. When and maybe somebody else will be better able to answer this, but it talks about the road project being called Dixville-Colebrook and number 40518. That means absolutely nothing to me. Can you tell me where that actually applies on a map?
As to what where it applies, where it comes from, I can't recall. However, the road project, it's part of the road is in Dixville Notch, which is an unincorporated place. The other part of the road is in the town of Colebrook. So that's why it's called the Dixville-Colebrook Road Project. But I do have the commissioner from the county behind me who may be able to better answer that question. Representative.
Thank you. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Representative Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for taking my question. So I associate Dixville Notch with the Balsams, and we seemingly the legislature's taken the position that the development of the Balsams should be privately funded. So I'm just curious how this road project connects to and supports the enhancement of the Balsams Resort project, and if this road project is an appropriate intervention given a prior decision to have private capital invested in the Balsams.
Thank you, Representative. The Balsams project is, well, the owners are trying to secure the appropriate financing, as I mentioned earlier. The road in question, in order to make the Balsams Resort more amenable and, I guess, better for clients to, take advantage of the resort, the road leads up to the golf course up above, which is a very good golf course. It's the only course in New Hampshire that looks north to Canada, east to Maine, and west to Vermont, and yet you're still in Vermont. I don't know if I could better answer that question for you. I apologize.
Representative Graham, I see that you're here. Was this part of the 10-year plan? If you don't mind. It's just because I know.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I know
For the record, Representative John Graham, Hillsborough 7, which is the town of Bedford. I'm also the Chair of Public Works and Highways. It is not currently part of the 10-year plan. To answer a previous question, that number, the Dixell Colebrook project number 40518, is taken from the 2017 version of the 10-year plan, which has been dropped because we weren't going to put highway funds into that road. So that's kind of where it is. And it was heard in my committee as to whether or not to include this road in the highway plan, as it was in the Senate, and both bodies that deal with the 10-year highway plan have elected not to include it in the 10-year highway plan, at least this year. And I'm going to go back to my seat.
I have a question for you, Representative Graham, if allowed.
Do you want a pink card, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I would like a pink card, but go ahead, Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Graham. Okay, so I don't do public works. I don't do the 10-year transportation plan. If you could just give me an easy education on the correlation between things that go into the 10-year plan and the extent to which that 10-year plan is sort of the definitive guideline to what is in and what is out of our highway planning.
The short answer is it starts at the town level. They work with their regional planners to come up with a plan for what should go into the 10-year highway plan, which allocates both federal and state funds towards our bridges and roads within the state roads, not town roads. Then goes through a series of hearings with the GASSET, which is the Governor's Council on Intermodal Transportation. And they provide a list, a major book to the governor for his perusal and send to us for look. We can make changes. We have in the past, but it is definitive on what the state intends to spend money on, at least over the next 2 years until we do the next 10-year plan. But it programs things out 10 years so that we can look at what needs to be done in the state in a priority listing of where we are and where we need to improve our transportation in all modes. It's not just highways, it's rail, air, and the rest, and transit also. So it's there. It's pretty definitive. And as I said, when we looked at this, to find that $4 million plus or minus, we would have had to taken another project out of the 10-year plan because it's fiscally constrained to fund it. and we elected not to do that.
Go ahead.
So it sounds like this has been duly considered by the duly appointed body. It wasn't included, and that this funding would be effectively putting this project to the front of the line despite having not gotten there on its own merit.
It would be outside of the 10-year plan, Representative Edwards, in that it would not include either federal highway funding or state highway funding, i.e. our gas taxes. It would be other funds not appropriated, meaning either surplus or someplace else that you and the governor could dictate where it would come from. Would it set a precedent? Maybe, maybe not. But again, it depends on how you look at wanting to develop jobs and other things in the North Country. And I'm sure you'll hear from people who are sitting behind me, probably going to hit me on the side of the head for not having said that earlier.
Are there any other questions for Representative Graham? Okay, thank you. And if you wouldn't
Yes,
mind.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Representative Bears, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, to continue, as far as the, I've had a couple of meetings with the chair of Public Works and Highways, and one of the things that could be done regarding the 10-year plan is that there are two things that could be done. One, you can ask the municipality to give up their share of the road of the monies for the 10-year plan and give it to the Balsams project. That I testified that was very, very unethical, and I would not request that. Secondly, I work with the commission to look at the American Rescue Plan Act monies for that project. Unfortunately, the DOT funds were only for transportation and aviation. So that is why I was trying to come up with another way of securing funds which may or may not be available for this project.
Further questions for Representative Taberge? Representative Walls.
So, Representative Taberge, I'm just trying to understand this. The way I read this is, if Les Otten gets the money, and this is going forward, then there's a road. Is that what this is, basically, this bill does? And without it, then there's an inadequate road to this new development. So this says, if we get the development, we're going to have a road that gets you there. If we don't get the development, we don't have to spend the money.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Representative Taberge. And I would like to call Executive Counselor Joseph Kenny when he finishes filling out his pink card. Yeah, I think your mic isn't on. Just push the
Morning.
button. There
So
you
if
go.
it says red, it's on or off?
It's on.
It's on, good. Because in my neck of the woods, that means stop.
Mm.
Thank you very much to the Finance Committee for letting me speak on behalf of this amendment. As you know, this project means a lot to the North Country. The Balsam redevelopment project has a long history. I mean, when I first got to the council here in 2014, I was in a lot of these hearings discussing how to get funding to help out this project, which is very important to the North Country. And for many years, we had raised the credit limit to the BFA to allow for this project, to move forward. Unfortunately, because of certain things, the financial package, the economy, and the timing, it just wasn't right. The developer feels that the timing is right this year as he finishes off his financial package. It's an exorbitantly expensive project. There's no doubt about it. And the Golf Links Road, as this amendment is addressing, it would allow them to open up that part of this project with the country club and the beautiful golf courses, and also provide an opportunity to really develop that side of the property in Colebrook as well. We know that the cost of this project has gone up from the initial estimates about 2.6 million to about 4.1, or if not more. Unfortunately, it would have been nice if we'd done it a few years ago, but costs have gone up, and therefore the amendment is written the way it is to reflect that. There's been a lot of discussions about, rightly so, with the Commissioner of Transportation and the House Committee Chairman, that we cannot simply take out or put in money, with regards to the 10-year highway improvement plan. That money is already been programmed. There's money that matches up with these projects for the next several years and beyond. And if we do put in the Balsams project, into the 10-year highway improvement plan, we'd have to pull something else out. We've gone too far through the GASSET process, the legislative process, to really allow that to happen. Because in my judgment, when the regional planning commissions come together, we have the public hearings all around the state, and we've really kind of haggled and bargained and figured out what our priorities are, that we really need to stick to them as best we can throughout the legislative process. And with your work and others, we in effect, have done that with the 10-year highway improvement plan. I think it's a great plan. It incorporates a lot of additional, funding for some of our infrastructure that's going to go a long ways here in the coming years. So leave that alone. But what we're talking about is the authorization of the DOT commissioner to say, listen, if there are other monies that we can, access within state government, that this is a project that's going to have exponential benefit to the North Country. You probably heard this thing called the $100 million for this housing program. I never knew there was $100 million hanging out there that, that we could use for housing. So money is appearing quite frequently before the council. We just passed umpteen millions of dollars for the fish hatchery program. Another umpteen millions they're going to go to potentially to the Hampstead Hospital project. So apparently there's a lot of money out there. But with economic development, infrastructure is key. And you can go right here in Concord and look off of exit 17 with the state working with the city of Concord over the redevelopment of exit 17, where there's going to be a state liquor store, there's going to be a market basket, that the state has put money into it to support that economic development. And what we're really simply saying with the Balsams project, if there's money out there to support that economic development project that would create jobs, absolutely, revenue and taxation for property taxes. It would create a lot of activity and vitality for that area. We know that the rubber plant, rubber plant has taken off. We know, like any economic development project, we need housing, we need childcare, we need in-house counseling, and I think the developer understands that, and he has ways of going about that to create his workforce and so on. So I don't want to belabor this, but I think if we can provide them at least a hope of an opportunity that there might be some money out there to support this particular road project other than going into the 10-year highway improvement plan, that the governor, the legislature, and to a certain degree the executive council might be able to say, okay, let's, take care of this state road, bring it up to standards, and pass it over to the developer into the county of Coos. Because one thing I've learned about working with DOT for many years is that they love relinquishing state roads to local communities and to local developers. That gets them off the hook into the future. So this is an opportunity that would allow the state to bring up the road to standards and then relinquish their responsibility to the developer and to the local community. I think it's a win-win on both sides. I don't think there's any really objections to it. It's everybody's just trying to, how do we adhere to the law that was passed several years ago that you can't really give money to this redevelopment of Golf Links Road until there's a financial package in place. And that's still going to stay in place. Even if we go out and find money, to do this road, we still have to know the developer has finalized their financial package and that indeed the development is going to go forward. But from all indications, there looks like there's a bright future here in the near future. So with that, I open up to any questions.
Representative Turcotte?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Councilor Kenny.
Morning.
I'm trying to get an executive overview of the status of the Balsams project. I remember 2 terms ago when I was here, I believe we passed some legislation that allowed loans from the state of New Hampshire to the project or whatever. What I'm looking for is what's the status of the project right now? What is the total estimated cost, absent the road, of the work that Otten is doing on the project? What's the total dollar value of this project? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I know
Thank you.
there's a speaker or two behind me that can give more specifics. I can give you kind of generalizations. I know it's over a $200 million project. I know that he's working, according to news reports, with Goldman Sachs. He's working with Provident Bank. He's working with Barclays. He's working with a lot of financial packages. He's working with the county with regards to bond issuance. He's working with, private investors. He's obviously still trying to market the various timeshares that are presently on the facility. So the financial package is wide and long. And the key thing, there has to be a key moment when everything is synchronized and meets up at the same time. Because remember, a lot of it's being dictated by the market. So when it comes to bonds, so he has to make sure that there's a healthy, vibrant market for allowing him to move forward with this project. So that's the best I can give you, and I'm not a financial expert.
Representative Weiler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Counselor.
Welcome. Thank you.
I get the impression that this golf course is a going concern now. How is it accessed now?
Well, if you go to the front entrance of Dixville Notch to the Balsams, you'll see a long gate, and you're not authorized to go through that gate. However, if you do go through that gate, you'll come to a road further down that kind of small entrance road, and you will see remnants of the road, which I don't know, it's 1.5 miles, 2 miles, that heads towards the golf course area of the country club. It is a beat up old road that needs major improvement if you're going to have the access from the public to going there and back. And so it's got a lot of improvements. Even if you get the financing today for this, Golf Links Road, you're still going to have to design, engineer it. You're going to have to make sure that, it's permitted. There's a lot of wheels of planning, designing, and engineering that have to occur before you're going to, immediately work on that road. So my judgment, of course, the developer probably doesn't want to hear it from me, but I think the first year you get the financing, the second year you do the project when it comes to this Golf Links Road.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions that anyone has? You want to follow up?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. And again, if there's somebody else that can answer the question better, that's fine too. But what is the actual stage of the construction of the project now? Am I assuming there has, to this date, there is really no financing lined up at all? Have they started? What is this status of the project?
Sure. I think the value in the project right now is that all the permitting has been done. The permitting has been going on for years, and a lot of the permitting has been renewed. And, from the water withdrawal permitting to, some of the dredging, permitting, obviously working with the cost planning board. All the permits that I'm aware of are really in place. And that's where all the money and value has been put into the project up to this point. I think there probably been some upkeep. There's been some development of certain parts of the project to showcase what their units are going to look like in the future. So there has been a lot of energy and time expended on the sales of trying to, get investors committed to timeshares and whatnot. If you talk to the developer, he'll say he's put personally $7 or $8 million into it. So when you're talking about the development side of it, a lot of it's been the permitting, the planning, and obviously the overall concept of the project, and then obviously working to get sales and investors involved in the project.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Counselor Kenny.
Appreciate it.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
I'll now call on Representative Edith Tucker.
Yeah, what is your comment? I didn't know. I'm Representative Edith Tucker from COAS 5. I didn't know how to fill out a form so both Commissioner Gorman and I could speak together. I should have filled out just one pink slip, apparently.
No, you
and I'm
did
sorry.
fine. Thank you. So I will also welcome Commissioner Gorham.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Gorham is also a selectman in Colebrook and is more up to date than I am on exactly where the work has gone on the financing package that the developer is close to putting together. There are always obstacles, but as I said at a previous hearing, I almost can hear the hammer on the first nail. This is a very important road, as you heard, a state road that has been allowed to deteriorate over the years because the resort was not open. And the state had to make choices. It was on the 10-year plan. It also was contingent on getting financing in the past that didn't happen. It just now appears that we are quite close to having that happen. This road runs from the main buildings of the what was the Balsams Resort that Mr. Tillotson owned, and up to a couple of miles up to the town of Colebrook, where the so-called country club, which is a lovely facility with a view towards Canada, Vermont, New Hampshire, as John Harrigan used to say, got to see two foreign countries. Vermont being obviously one. And it's a Donald Ross course that has been maintained. But it's essential to the hotel that there be good access to this main golf center and the Donald Ross course. It also, under the plans that have been developed, would include housing that would be actually in the town of Colebrook and produce property tax dollars for the town of Colebrook. Dixville is an unincorporated place and has a different arrangement with the county on how taxes are collected. But I'm here really from COAS 5 because all of COAS regrets the loss of the business at the Balsams Hotel. We're losing population. I will lose my seat. I no longer will have a district. We're going to go from 10 reps down to 9, which of course I regret. But it's an ongoing problem that we don't have substantial industries on the whole being developed in Coas County. This road project is part of what would be a very large project. Commissioner Gorman will fill you in on the numbers, but I assure you that the lack of a big amount of activity in that corner of Coas has had devastating effects on Pittsburgh, on Colebrook, on Berlin, on almost all parts of Coas. The southern little tier, if you think of it as a crescent, has not been as affected, but I would say 2/3 of the county has been adversely affected by the closing of the Balsams Resort. So the idea that we could be so close to having this happen and this road be an important part makes me thank Executive Counselor Kenny, Representative Taberge, and others for working to see a way that we have a plan that is contingent on the financing going forward that would then make it possible for monies to be found in other locations, not from the 10-year plan, to affect this repair and redoing of that important road. So I'm here really as someone speaking on behalf of the whole county. Now I'm going to turn over the microphone to Commissioner Gorman, and who is also a selectman in Colebrook.
Really want to thank you folks for giving me the opportunity to speak on this project, which means so much to our whole county, and especially the community of Colebrook. So I'm going to start from the beginning, because one of the first questions was, what is Golf Links Road? And Golf Links Road goes directly from the hotel to the golf course. It is it is very scenic. All right, that whole area, we keep talking about the 4 states, the 2 countries, it's really scenic, okay? And so as you drive up the road, you go approximately, let's say, let's just call it half a mile up Golf Links Road, there's a little pond. It's called Two Town Pond. The reason it's called Two Town Pond is it's the town line of Colebrook and Dixville. So the rest of the road is in Colebrook, okay, leading to the golf course, all right? So this road, if it is fixed up and made, would also be an opportunity for real estate sales, all right? And then you get to the golf course, which is now 2 miles away. It's a wonderful clubhouse. We used to hold weddings, convention parties. We used to do a pile of work there. And I probably should back up a little bit. I've worked at the Balsams for 32 years. All right. I'm a lifelong resident of the North Country, selectman for Colebrook, and a county commissioner. And so this road, it goes up to the golf course, this incredible stone building with this patio that looks out over the golf course and into the other states and so on and so forth. So it really is. The opportunity for the county and for Colebrook also with this golf course, and it's a Donald Ross course, and it's one of those older courses that people travel around the country and the world to play these courses. All right, it's a tough course. You need a golf cart. It's up the hills, down the hills, but it's a very special golf course, and they have kept the golf course. Very few people have used it, but they've kept all the greens, and they've kept a crew of 5 men working on that golf course ever since the hotel has been closed for 10 years, realizing the importance of this golf course. And part of for Colebrook and the county, the ability that Mr. Otten is talking about 30 to 50 million in development of second homes, as we like to call them, around the golf course, on this road, so on and so forth. So you can just imagine for a town like Colebrook to have those type of homes, there's probably not going to be a lot of students, so on and so forth. So it would really, for a town that is depressed as we are, we have a lot of hope right now between the Balsams and APP, the rubber company that the counselor referred to, that our community can really start growing again after significant losses in our area through the years, with Wausau, the paper mill working in Groveton that left. My brother lost his job there. Ethan Allen going down from 500 to 600 people to 100 people. I believe it's down to 80 now. just all of the balsams closing and the Tillerson going down, we've taken some significant hits in the last 10 years. Our population has dropped, valuations of our community, but we're on a roll. We're coming back. The balsams is going to happen. APP is providing over 100 jobs to us. So, but the Golf Links Road, it's a real opportunity for, and you talk about, I was talking about Colebrook and the county, but even you guys can look at it as rooms and meals tax, things like that. That's going to be multi-million. The amount of jobs, they're talking about a 400 room hotel in Dixville. That would be, I think it's approximately 200 million that is working with the Goldman and Sachs and Provident Group and the private investors that Mr. Otten has lined up as well. On the county level, as a county commissioner, I can speak, we have $30 million worth of bonds that we have worked with the legislative bodies to get the unincorporated towns like in the county so that we can do this bond with the developer, with Mr. Otten. And we are full-fledged ahead. Our attorneys are working with their attorneys. We just added another advisor 3 weeks ago, and we're full-fledged ahead, full support on the county commissioner level, all right, and the ability that we have to support this project, all right. The town of Colebrook has also worked on our section of Golf Links Road with Mr. Otten to do what he needs there to develop his project, all right. So there's a real importance here that you can see that the communities support this and the ability to add these jobs, to add the real estate, the whole package that comes with something of this size is significant to our community, very significant. I have been part of a process. We met with Commissioner Sheehan, Mr. Cass, and the DOT folks. They have been supportive of us all the way through. But this is complex, okay? We got the unincorporated, we got the 10-year plan, so on and so forth. And at that point, the Commissioner Sheehan was speaking about betterment funds, but now I think that's all your monies right now are tied up on your future projects immediately. So that's why this has kind of gone to like a back burner. But now the back burner is on, okay? The process is in full tilt. Move forward, hopefully get a shovel in the ground, at least within the next year, if not late this summer or fall. And so I'm more than welcome to take any questions. I can go on. I will speak on this for half an hour, but you folks, you've heard enough from me, I feel already. But I welcome any questions. And I can tell you, I'm passionate about this, and I can tell you my North Country folks, a large percentage of them are also. I mean, this is hope for us. This is a real big thing. My kids learned to ski there. I had as many as 7 members of my family working at the hotel at a time. It means the Balsams was such a special place. And if we can get that going again, where our kids have decent jobs, where I don't know how many of my people that are my age, 60s and 70s, that want a part-time job at the Balsams, it could mean so much to us.
Are there any questions for Mr. Gorham? Yes, Representative Turcotte.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at the actual map of the road, is it safe to assume at this time there is no anything else other than at the end being the golf course? In other words, there's no residential development, no houses or anything there right now?
No, there isn't. And I mean, it's, you got boulders the size of these tables, on the sides of the roads. It's mountainous in there, but in today's world, it can happen easily. The road, I would say, as far as uses right now, like this winter, there's snowmobile trail that goes through there. All right. And there's other little roads that go off to the ponds. All right. Nathan Pond, and the road itself, when the resort is open, there's 50 miles of cross-country trails, all right? And, there's a lot that can be developed as far as, outdoors activities and stuff like that. It would be used a lot. It would be. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? I just have one quick question that I'm not sure that I understood. Does Golf Links Road go all the way out to a road in Colebrook?
Okay, so you get up the Golf Links Road, and just before the golf course, let's say 500 yards, there's a road. It continues. It becomes a dirt road and goes into Colebrook. All right, it goes into Colebrook, and it goes down through. There's multiple homes, an old farm, and so on and so forth. So we have worked with Mr. Otten on that dirt road because I think with his plans for his houses and stuff, he wanted to change that. So we've worked with him. We've already got our attorney. We've taken care of all that.
So, is that part of this project?
No.
Okay.
No, this is pretty much the straight shot from the hotel right to the country club. And that's the paved section. This is yeah.
Okay.
It's a paved road.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I will call on Teresa Rosenberg. Burger? Is it Rosenberger? Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Teresa Rosenberger. I work for Bernstein Shure, and I'm here representing the Balsams. Many of you saw me back here in 2014, 15, 16, etc. Mr. Otten apologizes he could not be here. He had a meeting dealing with the Balsams that he really could not change on short notice, so you get me. I want to thank Representative Beers for putting in the amendment and also the delegation as well as the county commissioners for being so incredibly supportive. As Representative Wall said, this bill really authorizes DOT to spend money on repairing that road just up to the standards they need in order to pass it off to the town or the county. Once, really important, the financial planning is in place and the permits. And that's really key, that you don't spend a dime unless Mr. Otten has all of his financing, all of his permits, everything's ready. And so that's I think, very important from a public policy point of view. As you know, there have been lots of issues over these last couple of years. This project we thought was moving forward got slowed down. COVID certainly didn't help anything at all. Now it's definitely back on track. That he is working with Goldman Sachs and the county on doing a county municipal bond. Hopefully that will go to market sometime, depending on the market, within the next ever how many months. But that's moving forward. This is a complicated project, and it's a puzzle, and there are a lot of pieces. And the road is a really key part of the puzzle because the state owns the road. And as you've heard people say, you can't get up to the golf course, and the golf course is a key element to the resort. I mean, we have issues with water because we have to do snowmaking. We have issues with energy because we have to, do the lifts. We've got financing, etc. But equally important is the fact that we need access to the road. And so this is really giving authority, and we hope you get to spend the money. And I'd be happy to answer any questions I can.
Are there any questions for Ms. Rosenberger? Representative Edwards?
Thank you for answering my question. Actually, this letter that just got delivered, I think you're here representing the Leslie Otten,
Right, the developer.
and that you can speak to what's in this letter.
Yes.
The way I read this, I think this answers an earlier question I had. My question earlier was I had understood that the legislative position was that the Balsam Resort needed to be funded through private capital.
Yes.
And so I was wondering the connection between this state road project and that private capital. This letter actually addresses that. What we would be doing, as I understand, is we would be bringing this road up to standard.
Right.
We wouldn't be gold plating it. We
No.
would be just meeting standard.
Right.
And then upon meeting standard, as we do in all cases when we have an ownership transfer, we would then transfer the ownership of this road to the developer, and the developer would therefore be responsible forever.
And
So,
it's off your books.
so that answers that question. It brings up the question though, what if in 10 years the developer defaults or goes bankrupt? What happens to the road ownership at that point?
Well, I don't know, I will get back to you on that, but I think the ownership would still stay with the Balsams. Because as I understand it, what had been negotiated with DOT and BEA when it was DRED, way back in 14, 15, and 16, was that the state would bring the road just up to basic standards, transfer it to the county or the town of Colebrook. They would then transfer it to the resort, the development authority, and they would then maintain the road as a private road. I'm not sure I totally answered it.
So follow up. What I was just asking was for the worst case scenario in 10 years after all of that, if Balsams were to go bankrupt again, what would happen to the ownership of that road?
Well, I think the ownership would stay with the Balsams. I think I'll double check, but if once you've transferred it to the private owner, I think the private owner keeps and maintains the road. So in bankruptcy, if the Balsams sold it to another development company or someone, it would go with the package, just like the golf course, etc.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for, oh, of course. Representative Turcotte, that's okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Where this project is 200 million plus, and we're looking at this bill, which is talking about, we'll call it 4 million to be easy. 4 million over 200 million, that's less than 2% of a total project.
Right.
Has a developer considered possibly coming up with a, rather than having the state pay for the 4 million, of the developer adding that into his total construction costs and maybe coming up with an agreement with the state to transfer ownership after the road has been brought up to speed?
I will get back to you on an answer to that, but it's my understanding that for the state, and this would be a real question for DOT and maybe Council Kenny can answer, but I think when the state transfers roads to private entities or private owners, they have to be brought up to quote standard. And when this was initially done, it was $2.5 million. Like the project, I think was 165 million. Well, needless to say, we've got inflation, but I think they have to bring it up to standard, whatever that may be. Now, this is, as I understand it, a maximum of 4.1. So if the state's able to bring it up for 2.5, that's where it is. But that would really be a question for DOT, I think.
I think what I'm
Follow up?
yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think what I'm getting at is there a way for the developer to absorb the cost of bringing it up to snuff, since that will eventually be turned over to the and I don't know the mechanics of it. Maybe you can't do that. I don't know, but when it's less than 2% of a total project, why can't that be done by the developer?
I will go back and ask Mr. Otten if that was in the discussions back in 2014. As I understand it, way back when, the state was doing what I call some enhancements, getting this road back up to snuff was one of them, in order for the project to go forward. But I'll go back and ask Mr. Otten if it was discussed. I'd be happy to ask him. Yeah.
We need an answer on that question by tomorrow morning.
I know his meeting
Okay.
starts at 1, so I'll see if I can even get you an answer before the work session, if I can locate him.
Okay, that's fine. We just,
Yep, I'll get you an
we're in a
answer.
time crunch.
Right. No, I do know that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. We did have one more question, Representative Hatch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a matter of clarity, the statement was made that the Balsams goes bankrupt again, and I don't believe the Balsams went bankrupt. I think the owners chose to close it, and I just would like to interject that as clarity. I think it's kind of important. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very true. They did not go bankrupt. Okay, thank you. Representative Thompson had wanted to testify, and unfortunately, he is in a executive committee meeting, and so I apologize that he wasn't able to get to testify before that occurred, but he will be part of the record as wanting to. So I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Division 1, we have a session going on. It's in recess right now, so if you could all join me in our Division 1 room.
Similarly, Division 3 has a meeting that's to start at 11:30, and we'll be staying here.